And now, today's response to President Obama's weekly address, editor of the North Star National, Dan Calabrese.
Thank you, and good Saturday afternoon, everybody. This morning, President Obama laid out his view for how the federal government should help small business, which he describes as a crucial cog in the economic recovery of the nation. Unfortunately, President Obama demonstrates absolutely no understanding of how small business actually operates. This is shown not only in his address this morning, it's also shown in the policies he advocates, and it's shown in the kind of people with whom he has surrounded himself, none of whom appear to have any experience or knowledge about what it actually takes to run a small business. The result of this is that the president advocates policies that in most cases are the last thing small business needs, and they basically all come under the category of increasing debt. President Obama places heavy emphasis on availability of capital, which is fine for a business that has a positive track record, has generated positive cash flow, and wants to borrow in order to expand. Because if they've got a good track record and they've got a good plan, their local community bank, which as the president says may have given them their first loan and has watched them grow, will see that they have that track record, will see that they've got the cash flow to service the debt, and they'll give them the loan not because the federal government put the muscle on them to do it, but because they'll see that they're likely to make a profit off the loan. Instead, the president is talking about situations like borrowing money to make payroll. Now, I want to tell you, because I've been there, if you're borrowing money to make payroll, you're in trouble. You're in trouble because payroll is something that you should be paying for out of your positive cash flow, out of your profitability. If you have built up your staff and built up your payroll and thus your overhead before your cash flow has allowed you to support that overhead, then what has happened is that you've grown too hastily. The smart thing to do in that situation is not to take on more debt. It's to pare back. It's to trim down, and in some cases it's to eliminate jobs. I understand why politically the president doesn't want to say that. But if you're a small business and you're trying to continue operating and operating profitably, that's what you should do. He also talks about wanting to make capital available so that companies can finance inventory. Now, he's talking about a situation in which you've produced a lot of goods, but you've got them sitting around and you can't actually get anyone to take delivery on them yet and pay you for them. In that case, what you're really doing is you're borrowing to supplement your cash flow. The smart move in business over the past 15 or 20 years has been to do exactly the opposite of this. It's to generate and keep around less inventory so that you don't have this problem. Now, that said, if there are companies who want to keep a lot of inventory sitting around and they want to borrow against it, there are private finance sources available who will lend them that money. But they lend it at a premium, and the reason they lend it at a premium is that it is a high-risk loan. President Obama proposes that the Small Business Administration guarantee these loans up to 90%. What he's doing is he's asking the taxpayers to take on this risk of what could be a lot of potentially bad loans. Now, where have we seen that happen before? Saw it happen to a tremendous degree toward the end of last year and early this year when the federal government had to step in with the TARP funds to bail banks out of all kinds of bad loans. President Obama wants to now put the taxpayers at risk for more of this. Does that sound like a good idea? Encourage businesses to take on more debt, encourage the taxpayers to take on the risk behind that debt, all of which is entirely unnecessary because A, it's bad business strategy to begin with, and B, if you want to do it, there are private capital sources that will allow you to do it. Now, if the president really wants the federal government to help small businesses, here's how he can do it. First of all, he can cut our taxes. He can cut our income taxes, he can cut the corporate taxes, even the taxes on the big companies. That affects small businesses because in most cases those are our customers. Secondly, he can slash regulations. Thirdly, he can abandon the anti-free trade policies that he seems to prefer because that makes it harder for companies like us to open markets around the world. If the president learns a little bit about how small business actually operates, I am confident that he can get behind smarter policies that will actually help us. What we heard from him this morning doesn't do that at all, and for that reason, I would urge every member of Congress that looks at these proposals to reject them, to reject the whole idea that we take on more debt and that we put the taxpayers at more risk. We can grow. We can grow according to our own hard work, our own capital, and our own time. We don't need the federal government encouraging us to borrow more money. That's what got us into this problem in the first place. Of course, the president doesn't seem to show any spending restraint in his own policies. He doesn't seem to have any problem with the federal government taking on more and more debt. Maybe that's why he thinks it's a good idea for small business as well. It's not, and he needs to rethink not only his approach to helping small business, but his approach to financing the operation that he's in charge of, which is the federal government. This has been this week's address. This week's response to the President's weekly address. I'm Dan Calabrese, editor of the North Star National. Good day.